Check it. She's going. One more round of applause. Can we give God some praise in this place? Awesome. Awesome. So good to see you. Hey, well, I brought my friend Christian. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Are you excited for them to be here?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome to Comedy Fire. We just got some little logistics we want to encourage you with. Is obviously it's pretty packed in here, and so what we want to do is encourage you in these next just few moments. If there's like an open seat just around you, if you want to just kind of squeeze in, we're all family in this place. I know it's kind of warm in here. We're working on that as well. But we want to encourage you just kind of just squeeze in. If you don't know the person now, you're going to after the end of this. I promise you. But we're gonna have some fun in just a few moments. We also want to encourage you, just right out here, there's some restrooms. If you go through this door and hook a right, we have some restrooms on the right side in our hallway that way. And then on this side as well, through these double doors, you're going to find a pair of restrooms that way as well. I want to encourage you to take your time to use those if necessary. But also we want to encourage you, man, we're so glad that you are in the building with us today. And if you don't have a church home, if you are simply saying, I'm looking for a place, I don't have a place to go, we have 3 awesome services we want to invite you to. And that's a 9 a.m., 10:30, and noon service that happens every single Sunday right here. And it's a great opportunity to come and enjoy fellowship and community and just a great time overall. And just to talk a little bit more about that, I want to invite up our senior pastor, Pastor Kurt Chafee, who's the senior pastor of our church. So can you welcome him as he comes along to tell us about New Song Church?
Oh, that's my favorite. Well, yeah, welcome everybody. We're glad you're here. Just you got all the logistical stuff, but I have a quick question. Are there any pastors in here? Pastors? One? All right. Anybody else? Up here? Any back there? All right. Awesome, man. I'm so glad you guys are here. And I just want, Bob's going to be speaking tomorrow morning here at 9, 10:30, and noon. And Brian, my good friend here, we're going to be doing something in July called Church at the Ballpark. We're going to be doing a service in the ballpark on Sunday morning. We're going to shut down here. Brian's going to shut down with us. And we're looking for other churches who want to maybe join with us, shut down their services and come join us in the ballpark. And we'll do worship together. We'll work out all the logistical stuff. So find me or find Brian. We'll help connect the dots. And we'd love to work with you. And I'd also say this is, Bob's going to be here tomorrow speaking, and Brian reminded me that if you wanted to come here tomorrow morning and hear Bob and hear his story, that'd be great. Or you can go to Brian's church. He's going to be talking about Barnabas and Acts, and he's going to do his best stand-up comic routine. So, but serious, these guys that are represented in this building, and girls for that matter, if you are looking for a church home tomorrow morning, could you guys just raise your hands again one more time? The pastors in here, Raphael, go back here, Brian. If you guys find these guys and say, hey, I encourage you to go to church tomorrow somewhere. And these guys would be great additions, and I promise you'll get to minister and be ministered to. And so I encourage you with that. So with that said, we're super excited to have Bob back. Yes. He's been, how many times have you been in Bismarck now? Like 4? 4 times or so? So we're super excited, and he's just become just a good friend. I'll send him texts randomly and be like, hey, I'm praying for you, and he'll be like, who is this? I'm your North Dakota friend, remember? And he's like, oh, yeah. And we've had some really cool conversations and prayer times. If you were here a couple years ago, we got to pray with him, and God is just so faithful. And so that's one of the reasons we do this. Maybe the main reason we do this is we want you to know the God we know that is so faithful. So with that said, would you guys all give a good Bismarck welcome to Bob Smiley back?
They told me just to switch the deal. Can you? Anyway, that's how I met Jesus. And No, it's so great to be back. My morning actually didn't even start right because when I flew into Bismarck Airport, which by the way, I love that airport. I want to give it a hug. But they lost my bags, which was my fault because I flew. And And the only reason why I wanted my bags was I knew it was going to be a big crowd. I wanted my toothbrush, but I was able to get one here in Bismarck. And, oh, you guys have an amazing thrift store. Well, no, it's a good one. I got a soft bristle. Someone was a biter. But it is. I love traveling around. I am a comedian. I wasn't always a comedian. I actually was a stay-at-home dad for a little while. But then we had kids. And I had to get out of there. But one thing I do remember is the last time I flew into Bismarck, I met a guy with no sense of humor. I was standing behind him at an ATM, and I thought this was hilarious. But as soon as he put in his password, I just went, got it, and I took off running. He did not look like a sprinter. And he caught me. I tried to explain it. He didn't laugh at all because evidently you can't have a sense of humor if you're an undercover cop. So... I see you guys still hate your drummer. I shouldn't make fun. Maybe he's got bad breath. Anyway, so it is. It's good to be here. I get a lot of the same questions. A lot of people want to know where I got my sense of humor. I can't remember if I shared this last time, but I love talking about my dad because my dad's kind of my hero, and we have kind of the same personality, which is weird because we don't look alike at all. My dad weighs 280 pounds. He's 5'7". Yeah, and he's always been big. I asked my grandmother. I was like, was he ever skinny like me when he was young? And she was like, no. He was born on a Thursday. And a Friday. So, and I'm not making fun of him because he loves being big. He loves it. He's always like, Bob, come stand next to me so we look like the number 10. I'm like, but he's so quick-witted. I'm trying to think. So actually, this isn't even part of my act, but over Thanksgiving, I was helping my mom take down some boxes out of the attic, and she found her old ballet stuff, and she was like, oh, I used to love to wear this tutu, and my dad was like, nowadays, it'd have to be a 4-4. So, yeah. I think she used a 4x4. But he's super just quick, funny. I'm trying to think of some good examples. Actually, yeah. Because I don't look like him, my second junior year in high school, I went to him. Are you judging me? This is a church. You need to act like a Christian and judge me silently in your mind. That's not right. No, and I'll be honest, because I'm pretty transparent with my life. Like, I was not a good student. I tried to be good. Here's the thing. God made my brain to do comedy, and so I would perceive things differently. I'm not making excuses, but, first grade, my teacher said, class, you have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. I was like, no, you don't. Watch. Yeah, so I didn't date much. No, all that stuff, because it was a very small school, because I grew up in a town with 281 people in it. That was it. That was our whole town. We had a little school, and then we had I guess it was a store. It was called a drive-through tobacco barn. I don't even know what happened there. I guess rednecks just pull up and we're like, yeah, fill her up, please. Like, but I didn't get any, and I would stand out in school. Like, even the rules to the fire got me in trouble. The teacher's like, in the event of a fire, walk, don't run. And I was like, if there's a fire, I'm running, okay? What do they want us to do, walk down the hallway while flames lick around our body? Like, la, la, la. Ow! One teacher said, in the event of a fire, walk single file. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's form a human wick. So, I want the fire to catch up. I was like... Another rule I didn't mean to talk about all this, but another rule we had was last person out of the room had to shut all the windows. So, again, I was very respectful because I was a Christian, early on. I love my teachers, but I was like, okay, let me get this straight. If there ever is a fire, we're all standing outside watching the building burn, watching one kid frantically try to shut all the windows. Like, hey, there goes Jimmy, you can do it. What a shame he almost made it to that last window, right? So anyway, it doesn't matter when I went to my dad, but I went to my dad and I was like, I don't look like you at all. Was I adopted? And my dad was like, yes. But they brought you back. So And he wasn't mean. That makes him sound mean. Although some things he did was mean, because he would always pull pranks on me. He actually convinced me if the ice cream van was playing music, it meant it was out of ice cream. He would pull pranks. One of the worst pranks he ever pulled on me was my parents took me and my brother into a bigger town to the, I wasn't going to tell the story and haven't told it in years, the Kitty Casino. The place where kids gamble. Chuck E. Cheese, yes. That's a casino for children, right? They don't even hide it. You got to go through a turnstile. There's no clocks on the wall. There's a 6-foot mafia rat walking around handing out tokens. So my parents dropped me and my brother off, and I did really well at the skee ball table that night. I left 200 tickets up, and now I know who gambles. And I'm not judging you. I gambled today, actually. I had Chinese food. So, no, I don't even like cats. So anyway, back to my story. So I did really well. So I had a bunch of tickets. So when I cashed out, I got one of those rubber sticky hand things. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And so I got in the car, and my dad has the rule that you don't talk to him while he's driving, because my dad's, he's not a good driver. That sounds mean. I'm a worse driver. I've actually been in 2 wrecks this year, and he hadn't been in any. And the last one was I hit the, what's the big vehicle where if you hit it, everybody gets mad at you? Not a school bus, no. Although I had to ride the school bus when I was in high school, and I hated that little thing. No, it's the, where everybody gets, hearse. So... What? No, they were mad. They all jumped out of their cars. I was like, everybody calm down. I didn't kill him. So I got in the car, and my dad pulled out. And here's why my dad didn't want you to talk to him while he's driving, because my dad gets like a lot of road rage. He gets and it's kind of funny because he's a Christian, so he doesn't cuss, which I'm super proud of him for, because it used to be a problem for him. But now he uses substitution words. Like he does, and it's great because he uses words from the Old Testament. Yeah, it's so great. One time he slammed his hand in a car door, and he was like, "Ow, Shadrach! Oh, son of a Abednego! Oh." So read your Bible, children. But no, so we pulled out, and I know my dad did this on purpose because he was looking in the rearview mirror and he was kind of grinning, but he leaned over. I don't want to offend anybody, so hear the whole story before I finish it. I just realized this might not be. But he turned on country music. Now, I'm not against country music, okay? I'm sure in a room this big, we've got country music fans. And actually, last year, I wrote a country music song called If I Can't Be Number 1 in Your Heart, Then Number 2 on You. So... That's going to be a hit song. I just got to learn how to twerk. Anyway. But the song that the music he was playing was that mindless, get in the middle of your brain and eat your brain from the inside out. You know what I'm talking about? Like, lang, 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 like that. So we're driving down the freeway, and my dad has a rule that you don't talk to him. And so I was just sitting in the back, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. This is terrible. I wish there was something I could do. Hey. And I had a rubber sticky hand thing. So I thought to myself, I bet you I can sling that between my mom and my dad and hit a radio button. You got to admit that's pretty smart. So I immediately prayed about it. You always pray before you do any kind of mission work. So I didn't even know if it'd work or not, but all of a sudden I just took the hand and I was like that. Not only did that hand go straight between my mom and my dad, it hit a radio button and it hit my button. I was allowed to program anything to channel number 2. And so I had 97.1, the Eagle, which is a rock channel out of Dallas. So we're driving down the road and all of a sudden the radio goes from lang, 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 lang to welcome to the jungle. And my dad was like, ah! Or it was in a guy's voice. That is the worst thing. That's the biggest difference between my dad and I. My dad has this deep macho voice. He has a voice that echoes over the neighborhood. Like he used to tell me to do something, kids in other households would get up and do it. Like, seriously, he'd be like, take out the trash. And kids 2 doors down would be like, yes, Lord. And that's the weird thing about me, because I'm a dad too. I've got 3 tax deductions, all boys, and I do. And there's things I'm never going to be good at as a dad. Like one of them is the protector of the family. So me, I'm the protector of my kids. First of all, I have the wrong body, okay? Like, I weigh 154. I look like I went to a blood bank and forgot to say when. I'm like the only guy in this church that can use chapstick as deodorant. And this is my real voice. Are you scared? I mean, think of what kind of protector am I? Think about it. If you were a burglar breaking in downstairs and I was at the top of the stairs, would this scare you? Like, you better not be down there. What is that? I'm the only guy that could stand at the top of the stairs and go, you better get out or I'll call my husband. Like, what? How did I? So back to my story. But my parents were wigging out because they didn't know I had this hand thing. All they knew was a weird voice came out of the radio. They later told me that they actually thought Satan had possessed the radio. And my parents are ultra-conservative Christians, and when they thought Satan had possessed the radio, they started doing things I'd never seen my conservative Christian parents do. My dad laid hands on the radio, praying over it. Yeah. My mom tried to talk in tongues for the first time, and you could totally tell she was faking, because she was like, about a Mazda, should have bought a Honda. And I was like, so I was like, boom, boom, back in my hand, back in my pocket. My dad finally grabs the steering wheel. He's like, oh my goodness, what happened? Which meant he didn't see me, which meant I got away with it. And my brother was like, he did it. I was like, yeah. I was like, Shadrach. So my dad didn't even ask me what I did. He just looked in the rearview mirror and he goes, I don't even care what you did. Don't ever, ever, ever do it again. And here's the thing, guys. I obeyed my parents. I really did. So when he said don't do it again, I wasn't going to. But adults back me up. A Billy Ray Cyrus song came on right then. I think even on Judgment Day, God's going to go, yeah, I totally understand. Why you didn't want your achy, breaky head to hear that tune again. So I was sitting in the back. I was like, I got to do this. So I took out the rubber sticky hand thing. I was like, I got to do this one. So I was like that. Not only did the hand go straight up between my mom and my dad, it was going right back to channel number 2. I was like, here we go again. It didn't happen, though. Because my brother, who's not a comedian, thought it'd be hilarious to bump my arm right as the hand got by my dad's face. Now let's recap this story, shall we? My dad doesn't know I have this hand thing. So all he knows is a big, gooey hand has now reached out of the seat and grabbed him. Which would really scare you, especially if you thought Satan had just possessed your radio. So he starts screaming, a demon's got me, a demon's got me. He grabs the hand, he throws it up against the windshield. It splats up huge. He's like, oh my goodness. He rolls down the window, grabs it, throws it out. I scare him even more by going, my hand! I remember thinking it can't get worse than this. My brother turned around and he goes, that is so cool. That landed right in the center of that cop's windshield. So that was me growing up. I didn't even plan to tell that, but I just want to remind you, man, God can use any of us. If he can use me, because I was a goofy little kid. I mean, and I don't want to give you a bad impression of my dad, because my dad and I would we would have so much fun. Oh, I can talk about it, because I'm in Bismarck, yeah. No, there's things that I never want to touch on because I never want to offend anybody. I want everybody to have a good time at my shows, and there's certain things you can't talk about, like discipline is a hot topic among especially Christians. Like, how do you discipline your kids? Okay, one person spanks them, the rest of you what? Stare at them? That means don't do drugs. No, it's a hot topic, isn't it? Again, I'm raising 3 boys, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I spank my kids when they're bad. I do it out of love. I also got the James Dobson Strong-Willed Child book. I don't know if you guys saw it. Oh, it helped me so much because it was thick enough that when I spanked them, I told that joke at a church one time in Michigan, and this lady came up after the show, and she was like, "You're advocating child abuse. You should never spank your children." And I'm like, "You're a Christian. Have you read Proverbs where they talk about it?" And she was like, "That was different. That was the Old Testament. They didn't have time out back then." And I was like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, they did. What was a lion's den, huh?" Like, because, I mean, I grew up getting spanked. There were times I deserved it. One time I was down front at our church, and my dad used to lead singing because he has this deep macho voice. And so my dad said this. He goes, "On this next song, let's all stand to our feet." And I don't know why I did this, but I was like, "Yeah, everybody, stand to your feet." Good thing he said that. I almost stood to my liver. We never sang that song. My dad shut the book. He walked right down. He picked me up. He carried me like a football outside. And he's a Tony Romo fan, so he fumbled me several times. We still okay? All right. But no, back to the real story. He really did. He picked me up and he carried me outside. And he spanked me, and I deserved it. But, it was embarrassing because it's right in front of my children. Why did I bring that up? Oh, because you can't talk about that. Yeah, like what I was going to say is like one of my favorite things that my dad and I used to do is we would go hunting. And is it okay to talk about hunting here? Okay, I kind of figured, yeah. Oh, I'm not bragging, but this year I got a 10-point buck. And it did not mess my truck up like I thought it was going to. Well, one of my favorite things that my dad and I would do was we would go duck hunting. He would take me duck hunting. And I'm sorry if that offends anybody in this room, but that's a beautiful father-son moment. It's early in the morning, and the sun's coming up, and my dad and I'd be hiding under the slide by the swing set, and I'd be tearing off the bread. The ducks would come waddling out. You know, right? You know I'm kidding. They didn't waddle like that. So I do. I got most of my sense of humor from my dad, and I've been doing stand-up for over 20 years. Oh, that's a question I get a lot. Is like, what's the worst part of your job? And I love my job, but sometimes it does get me in trouble because I'm always trying to think, like, be funny and all that. And sometimes, in fact, I don't know if I told this last time because I don't know if it happened before or after I was here last, but I almost got punched in the face in an airport. It was really bad. I'll tell the story really quick. But first of all, I had to wake up super early that morning. Anybody here a morning person? We got any morning people? Oh, yeah, a couple of you guys. Yeah, early birds. We all hate you. I don't mean that mean. I'm not saying you're not getting to heaven. I'm just saying when we all get there, can you wait till 9 a.m. before start flapping your wings in our face? Like, I am not a morning. This is how out of it I was. I woke up. It was 2 a.m. I woke up. My right leg was asleep. I didn't even realize it. So I fell on the floor because it was all numb. And then my dog saw me and thought I was down there to play. So he comes over and starts licking me in the face. Yeah. Then my leg starts waking up. So I start shaking it. My dog starts licking faster, thinking I'm enjoying myself. So I get up. This is how tired I actually was. And I hope I'm not the only person to ever do this. And please be honest so I don't feel like a weirdo, but have you ever been so tired you've been brushing your teeth and you missed your mouth? Has anybody, you've done that? Okay, good. I was all like, I guess I'm shaving. So I get my bags, I go to the airport. Oh, and this doesn't have anything to do with me almost getting punched, but I saw my best friend. He was getting off a plane. It's a guy named Tim Hawkins. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a comedian. Yeah. If you don't know Tim Hawkins, look him up. I promise you, he's the second best Christian comedian out there. No, but I hadn't seen him in a while, and he was getting off a plane, so he was tired. He had, obviously taken a red eye. He was wearing yoga pants, and so I did what you do when you see your best friend. I was like, I'm going to scare him. And so I got behind him. This was in the Houston airport. I got behind him, and I was about to jump in front of him. And right before I jumped in front of him, I remembered he has a comedy bit that he wishes Snickers were bigger. He wishes they made a Snickaloaf. And that's actually about the same response he gets when he tells it. No, but I don't know why that popped in my brain, but I jumped in front of him. This was about maybe 4:30 in the morning in the airport. I jumped in front of him, and I just went, "Want to buy a Snickaloaf?" And that is when I realized it wasn't him. I jumped in front of a complete stranger in an airport, and what did I shout at his face? "Want to buy a Snickaloaf?" And what I should have done when I realized it wasn't him, I should have said, "I'm sorry, I thought you were somebody else." But no, what my crazy brain kicked out was I was like, "Want to buy a Snickaloaf?" Well, I already ate it, and then I just walked away. I feel so bad for that dude, because he went home and tried to tell the story, and nobody believed him. Like, "Oh, I got off this plane, and this gigantic Girl Scout jumped in front of me." Okay, anyway, back to the story where I almost got punched. So I got on the plane. I was flying to Detroit, which is one of my favorite cities. I was there 2 weeks ago. It was so much fun. They took me around and showed me how to draw a chalk outline of a body. And so I got on the plane, and I was just going to go to sleep. And I don't know if I should tell the whole story. I kind of got into it because there was like a 3-foot male flight attendant who was like fresh out of the Shire. And no, he was an angry hobbit. Because all I wanted to do is I grabbed a pillow out of first class, and he immediately grabbed it back, and he's like, "These are for first class passengers. You're in coach." And I was going to argue, but he already put the ring on and disappeared. So well, there's more Hobbit fans here than I thought. I always like that because I love the Hobbit. I love it. I'm more of a Star Wars guy. Do we have Star Wars fans? Yeah. I love that we have new movies. I just wish Walmart would have come out with some merchandise to help promote it. Yeah. Did they go crazy up here? In Texas, it was, at first it was exciting. It was like, "Oh, Yoda yogurt, that's kind of cool." And then I saw chewing tobacco. I was like, no. I do own a Stormtrooper pooper scooper. But when I saw a Darth Vader paternity test, I was like, okay, that's a little much. So, everybody get it that's gonna get it? Okay, all right. See somebody explaining it. No child left behind. Anyway, so I sat down, and it was awkward because he had taken the pillow back from me, so I was sitting in the bulkhead. So I was just trying to go to sleep, but he was making his announcement, and he was just staring at me the whole time. He's like, "Can everybody's attention, please? We represent the lollipop kid." No, he didn't do that. No, but he did make the announcements, and I'm glad I listened because I've never listened to the announcements. I've been flying for over 20 years, and there's 2 announcements I can't believe they haven't changed. One, they say in the event of a water crash landing, you can use your seat cushion as a flotation device. Okay, guys, think it through. If I'm ever in a really scary crash, the seat cushion I was just sitting on, I don't want that thing anywhere near me, right? And the other one's even more dangerous. I thought when the oxygen mask falls, I thought the oxygen started flowing, but it doesn't. You have to listen, but it says to start the flow of oxygen, tug lightly on the tube. Well, let's rethink that. Who's going to be going 10,000 miles an hour into a mountain going, "Ah, hee hee," like what? So anyway, we took off. I was going to Detroit, but I had a layover in Alabama, which is one of my favorite states too. It's a little too close to Texas though, because every time I land, I forget to set my watch back 10 years. And so I landed in Birmingham. Oh, this was what got me on this topic. Like, people ask, what's the worst part of your job? I had to change terminals. I love my job. The worst part of my job is my last name really is Smiley, which is a great last name for a comedian. It is the worst last name if you have to show your ID to a TSA person, because they all make the same joke. Happened this morning. They look at it and they go, "Oh, Smiley, how come you're not smiling? You got a last name Smiley? We're going to call you Mr. Frowny, Mr. Smiley. Let's see that smile." And all I can think of is, man, I'm so close to your gun. But I have to smile because one time I didn't. One time I was overtired and I just let my brain just take off because I just got off a tour called Festival con Dios, which is a big traveling Christian festival. We had 11 Christian bands and Christian road. Everything was Christian. Even our bathrooms, we had 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. And they dropped me off, and I just wanted to get on the plane. And the TSA guy wouldn't drop it. He just kept looking at it. He was like, "Is your last name really Smiley? Because you're not even smiling in the picture. You're not smiling now. Didn't they ever tell you your last name was Smiley? Have you ever smiled? Why don't you do that?" And he wouldn't drop it. And finally he goes, "Why aren't you smiling?" One too many times. And I snapped, and I just let my brain go. And this is why I smile from now on. Because that morning, I just looked at him. I was like, "You really want to know why I'm not smiling? It's 4 a.m. And ever since 9/11, I got to be at the airport 2 hours early in order to get groped before enjoying all my freedom. I also have to take my shoes off thanks to the shoe bomber. Don't get me wrong. Glad he picked shoes and not a shirt because I don't have the abs to pull that off. I'm also going to be delayed because I'm standing in front of the world's largest redneck who has a belt buckle big enough to serve tea on, but he can't figure out what's setting off the metal detectors. But none of that matters either because we both know I'm not going to fly today because you're looking at my ticket. You see it says American Airlines, so we both know I'm going to get delayed. I'm going to get canceled. I'm going to get rebooked back here tomorrow where I get to try it all over again. But if it makes you feel any better, So, I'm glad you appreciated that story because all I remember after that moment was, wow, his hands are cold. So, okay, so back to the story. This is where I almost got punched. Taking way too long to tell the story. So anyway, I showed my ID and I was by myself. It was a lot like prom. And when I'm by myself, I like to listen to people. And so I'm listening, and I hear two guys behind me, and one of them goes, "Hey, when's Thanksgiving?" And I hear the other one pull out his phone and go, on November 26th. Huh, on a Thursday. Okay, if you're not laughing, Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday, right? And don't feel bad if you're not laughing. I was telling this story in Oklahoma a couple months ago, and this lady down front goes, "Why is it funny it's on a Thursday?" And just as a joke, I go, "How long were you in public school?" And yeah. It was a joke. Her response was even better. She goes, 3 years, but I hated teaching. So anyway, back to where I almost got punched. So I'm sitting, I hear him. "When's Thanksgiving?" "November 26th on a Thursday." I can't even process it. And the other one goes, "It was on a Thursday last year." You know what? I bet it's a leap year. And yeah, I did what you guys did. I laughed. But then I turned around. I should have turned around first. I've never seen guys this big. They were human room dividers, okay? Seriously, they were just, and here's the thing, and nobody believes me, but I am not as strong as I look. A little too much of a laugh. No, actually, this is not part of my act either, but this is how weak I am. About 4 weeks ago, I was walking through a park. I walked through a gigantic spider web and got caught. I am a grown adult, and I could not tear through it. Even the spider was like, I guess I'll eat you. So anyway, I'm standing there, and so I don't even know if I laughed, because he was like, it was probably a leap year, and I was like trying to figure out, and I turned around, and they're staring at me, and finally the biggest one goes, "Are you laughing at us?" And here's my dilemma. I am a Christian. And we tell the truth. But sometimes the truth will not set you free. And I apologize because I know we have kids here. This is a bad example. You should never lie. But I was petrified. And the biggest one was like, "You laughing at us?" And he was already like bowed up. And I was like, "No, I was just laughing at one of the jokes that my kids told me before I flew out. I was just turning around to see what these big shadows were, and they were coming off you guys. I'm going to turn back around." And before I could even turn around, he goes, "You're laughing at a joke your kid told you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Let's hear it." Now everybody in the Birmingham TSA line is listening to me. Guys, I don't even know where this joke came from. It definitely was the wrong joke to tell these two knuckle draggers, but this is the joke I told in the Birmingham airport. I was like, okay, what did one glowworm say to the other glowworm? You glow, girl. Like, what? It was the dumbest joke in the world. And the biggest one goes like this. I was going to get punched in the face for telling a glowworm joke, but thankfully the other one threw me a lifeline. He was like, is there something wrong with you? And I've been asked that a lot. But never has it been a good thing. And all of a sudden I thought, if they think something's wrong with me, if they think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, then maybe they'll leave me alone, right? And because I just flown with the Hobbit, I went all Gollum on them, right? I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. No, tell them about your problem. No, I'm good. You got to tell them. No, yeah. I'm sorry, I get really stressed out during leap years. And so sometimes comedy gets me in trouble, but sometimes it helps, man, and I love it. I really feel blessed to be able to do this because God created laughter. That's the other thing I remember about the last time I came here. There was a couple of things. One, I'd read an In-Flight magazine, and it was doing a thing on laughter. Doctors had discovered that laughter is 10 times more powerful than morphine. Laughter is 10 times more powerful than our strongest drug. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad God still made morphine. Let's be honest. If I break my leg in half, I don't want my doctor standing over me going, knock, knock. You know, but I do. I loved it. The other thing that happened when I don't know if I shared this, but I got to the hotel 2 years ago when they had me here, and they didn't have my room ready. And I love moments. I mean, I came to make you laugh tonight, but I just want to encourage you guys to look for moments to be Christ-like to people. And I love that because I walked in, I was like, I got a room reservation, and she was like, oh, we don't have a room ready. And you could tell she thought I was going to yell at her. And I was like, no problem. I got stuff I can do here in the lobby. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And so I started doing stuff. And because I was Christ-like, she immediately went and got a room for me. She came running back. She's like, we got a room. And I put my toenail clippers up. And I'm just saying, look for moments where you can shine. I do, and I love traveling around. This is my 22nd year doing this, and let me tell you really quick one of my favorite traveling stories. This happened when the iPhone first came out. You guys remember when the iPhone just came out and nobody really knew like what to do? Because it does everything now, doesn't it? Like even before they introduced me, I was over there, I was a little nervous. I was using the deodorant app. And I love to tell that joke because some people laugh, and there's always a few of you like, does it do that? And if you're from Arkansas, you're like, what's deodorant? So, why is somebody going, oh, is anybody from Arkansas? Is there? Are you? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I will speak slower. But no, when the iPhone first came out, I didn't know how to work it, but thankfully my oldest was 6, so he did. And this is true. He made a ringtone for me. He made a ringtone, and this won't mean anything unless you're like a parent, but his ringtone for me for the longest time was so cute. It was like, hello, Dad. Pick up your phone. And so I was in Phoenix. I was getting ready to fly home, and I was listening to it because I just got the iPhone. And it's my time to go through the metal detector, so I put my phone in the bag, in my little carry-on bag. The TSA guy, here's the problem. He didn't even see the phone. He just saw me mess with it. He opens up the bag. I had a tube of toothpaste in there, which I did not know you can't fly with. But he was like, what is this? And I was like, that's toothpaste. What are you, from West Virginia? And he got mad. Because he was. And he yelled at me. He was like, you can't fly with toothpaste. And I was like, dude, just calm down for a second, okay? I didn't think it through, but I totally agree. I don't want somebody jumping up in the middle of the flight and brushing everybody's teeth. Has that ever happened on a flight? Are there Tartar terrorists out there like, ah! What could they gain? Everyone gargle. Go, Allah. You know, like what? It wasn't even terrorist-like toothpaste, right? Like, I'd understand if it was like AIM or Scope, but... So he took my toothpaste, and this is why it's my favorite traveling story. He's just staring at me, and he takes my bag, and he sets it on the conveyor belt, and it starts going into the x-ray machine. And I know some of you are way ahead of me, but right as the bag went in, someone called me. So all of a sudden you hear this voice, "Hello, Dad." He was like, "Is there a kid in there?" I was like, "Calm down. He doesn't have toothpaste." So I love doing comedy, and I think I shared this last time, but my favorite job is 18 years ago, I started a nonprofit organization called Being a Dad. And it's so expensive, but yeah. But it's my favorite thing. Oh, that's a question I get is, are your kids funny? A lot of people want to know that. All three of my kids are funny. My youngest one, Xander, is the funniest kid. I'm trying to think of some examples. Okay, I thought this was pretty funny. I took him this last summer to, what's it? Not Philadelphia, the other one. Nah, Florida. I knew it was a state that started with an F. Don't laugh, I am not good at geometry. But no, I took him, and we were doing a pastors conference. And so it was like 300 pastors in this room. And Xander was backstage, and he was like, "Is that a room full of pastors?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" And he goes, "How long's your show?" And I go, "I'm doing an hour." And he goes, "Good. Go twice as long so they'll see how it feels." But the funniest thing he ever said, and I should have asked if I could tell this. I hope this doesn't offend anybody. But this is the funniest thing. This part isn't funny, but we sponsored 3 kids through Compassion International. We've been to third world countries, and I love teaching moments. The funniest thing I've ever heard Xander say is he came downstairs one day, and he's like, "I'm starving." And I saw a teaching moment. I was like, "Xander, come on. We've seen starving children. You ate 3 hours ago. You're not starving. You're hungry." And he was like, "Fine. I'm so hungry, I'm farting fresh air." And I was like, what? How do you argue with that? That's pretty hungry, right? Like, it is, though. I love being a dad. Even though it's hard, even it's really hard. Like, and here's the deal, kids. Try to make it easier on your parent. Anybody have kids that sneak up on you, or is it just my kids that think it's funny to do that? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, where you think you're by yourself, and all of a sudden you're just like, ah. How did you? Thought I was in this stall by myself, right? Or the worst is at night. Anybody have kids that sneak up on you in the middle of the night? Is that not the worst? Like 2 a.m. I don't even know why. I'll just open my eyes. My youngest, boom, right there. And he never says anything. He just stands there. Like at any minute, he's going to be like, "Mwah!" But he doesn't. He'll just stand there for like 10 minutes just holding the kitchen knife. And you guys know that's a joke. I'm from Texas. It's a gun. But it's so joyful. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. I couldn't raise my kids without help. I could not do it without community and without my church. And I really couldn't. And that's why I love your church, man, because I talked about this. This is one of the first churches I actually shared this. But if you guys don't know my story, I was married for 18 years. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, she just walked away and just left us. And I know it's awkward to bring up in a comedy show, you know. And I see all you women thinking the same thing. Like, what? She threw this away? No, I totally get it. Because the other guy had way bigger bank accounts. And this was one of the first places I shared this, because I didn't know what I was going to do. It rocked our world, and I was just trying to just love on my kids. And this is one of the first churches I felt like open enough to be able to share. Because here's the deal: life gets messy. It gets super messy. And the only foundation that's strong enough to stand back up on is your relationship with Jesus Christ. If you don't have that in your life, I can tell you, because for 18 years I traveled all over the country and told people God could get you through anything. But I'm going to be super honest with you guys. I was standing on a mountaintop the whole time. I had a great career. I had healthy kids. I had what I thought was a great marriage, and Satan put a target on our back. And Satan decided he was going to try to break up 2 families. And here's the great thing. That's been 2.5 years ago, and it's so refreshing to stand in front of you guys tonight and tell you God can and will get you through anything in life, anything at all. I mean, we saw it. We saw people from our church just like loving on the kids. My friends, I found out gave horrible advice. No, I love my friends, but some of my friends didn't even know what to do. They like some of my friends just gave me books to read. I'm like, thanks. Now I'm depressed and have homework. But I'm telling you, like God was so faithful through all the things. I remember even laughter. Like I didn't know if we were going to laugh again. And again, I'm not making light of divorce, but I love how God will give you what you need. And we needed some laughter back in our lives. And the first time that we laughed, the kids and I, we realized that, it's just me and the 3 boys, so we now can touch any towel in our house. We don't have non-touchable decorative towels. And the first time that we laughed, and again, not making light of divorce, it's a horrible thing. But Xander came downstairs one day and he goes, "Is the divorce over?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" And he goes, "Oh, there's still some furniture left." And yeah, he was kidding, because there's not. So please buy my DVDs and shirts. We have a lot to replace. No, again, but this was a moment where God brought laughter back in our house, and it was healing. And it came through Xander. Xander looked at me and he goes, "If it's really over, I'm going to go touch the towel." Because we had a decorative towel we were never allowed to touch. And he just walked into the bathroom, and he was being funny, but he just put his hand up, and he just goes, "Freedom!" Oh, the next hour, we were running around the house. We were popping each other with towels. My oldest was standing on the couch going, "Woo!" And we laughed, and we healed. That's what God does. God doesn't do this. I realize I pointed. I don't know, maybe God does do that. How cool would that be? That would be cool to get to heaven and be like, "Hey, welcome to heaven. Grab a towel, pick a couch, make it shine." So, now here's what God does. God shines the brightest light in the darkest places. And some of you probably came in tonight and you've been in a dark place. I'm here to tell you, man, God's light can shine through anything. He is the foundation, and he's never going to stop loving you. If you'll come tomorrow, I've got several stories about my kids and about how just amazing and loving our Father is. Like we're all children of God. And so I didn't mean to get off on that whole thing, but I just want to remind you guys, man, I've seen God be so faithful, and he wants to do that in your life. He wants you, and he wants to bless you with community. And I'm going to get better. Don't leave yet. It's kind of refreshing. Normally it's women that walk away from me. So no, that's actually a question I get a lot, because when people heard I was single again, and my kids were even like, "You should date." They want him to date. I was like, "Guys, I don't know," because I was so faithful to her. And I'm faithful in every relationship. When I hang out with Pastor Kurt, I don't look at other pastors. I don't. I'm not like, "Oh, I wonder what his sermon's like," I bet he ends on time. So I may not be here tomorrow. No, the whole dating thing. And then that's what's weird is because I don't want this to sound cocky, but let's just say it, right? I'm not horrible to look at. I'm almost out of debt, and the rash is healed. So is that too cocky? No, it's just so weird because I get hit on all the time now. Even before I flew out. So where was I 2 days ago? I was in a food court, and I got hit on and this lady had the lamest pickup line. She what did she say? "Free egg roll sample, sir?" And yeah. It's like, you slow your roll, lady. So it is. I mean, it's been 2.5 years, and in dating, I did go into the dating. Anybody, where do you go to meet people if you're an adult? Where do you go? Like, do you guys have any suggestions? Like, to Tinder? One of my friends signed me up on a dating site. Plentyoffish.com. What, are you on it? You're on it? What's your profile? No, I'm just kidding. Is that where you guys met, really? You guys met on Plenty of Fish. Okay, I'm glad it worked out for you, but back me up. There are plenty of fish on there, and they're all bottom feeders. I'm just saying, I'm glad it worked for you guys, but because a lot of it is lies. It's all like, hi, I'm Tony with an I, as in I'd love to meet you. And I show up and it's Tony with a Y, as in why did he lie to me? If I have to put on my profile, Adam's apples are a turnoff, that is not a good thing. And I don't know what it's like for guys, but a lot of women put fake photos on there. It's not, don't make me think I'm about to meet Anne Hathaway and I show up and you look like Anne passed away. So it is, it's weird dating. It's very, I don't know. Because here's the other thing. In real life, I'm actually very romantic, and people don't expect that because I'm a comic. But I do. I truly believe that we need to treat women how they are. They are the daughter of the king. We need to be romantic. We need to open doors. Guys, open car doors for ladies, especially after a big meal. It gives you time to fart as you walk around the car. That's a no-brainer, guys. It is. No, here's what I'm saying. I'm very careful to talk about it, because my worth is not defined by my relationship status as a single guy or, dating. It's based on my relationship status with Christ. That's where our true worth comes from. And I just wanted to remind you guys that. Wow, okay. True, but that's so true. We got to start with that. That's where that foundation comes in, and it is. So it is, and it is cool because you guys have kept up with me and prayed for me, and you guys have been very, very supportive. And it's weird because I am actually I've met somebody. It's really cool. Her name's Kathy, and she cleans our house twice a week. It is the best. No, I'm just kidding. No. I really do. I have a girlfriend now, and I mean, I'm happy. She's happy. I mean, I think she's happy. It's hard to tell through the binoculars. Don't go, she's very happy. She lives in Houston. What else do I know about it? She has a brother, or I think that's her brother. He's over all the time. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really do have a girlfriend. And I really feel like God brought us together because before that time, I had never performed at a prison. But seriously, when they marched her in, I was like, that's the one. The old ball and chain. And we have things to work through, like metal detectors and stuff. But no, here's the deal. That's what I'm saying. I just want to remind you guys that don't be defined by your relationship. I love that I'm dating this amazing Christian woman, and I'm glad that God, allowed me to heal, and my kids are doing well. But I just want to remind you that none of that matters. Your true worth comes from knowing your Lord and Savior and knowing what sacrifice He has given you. So here's the deal. I've got a couple more stories, but I'm going to stop my show for a second and try something for you guys. I have a lot of jokes that don't fit in my act. What? You're thinking, yeah, we've heard a lot of them. So I don't know what to do with them, but I think they're funny. And so I put some music down. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the harmonica, and I've got some background music. And I'm just going to, I'm going to call this my tweet song. And then I'll close with another story. But can you go ahead and play that music? Let's just try this out. These are jokes I don't know where to put in my act, all right? I just found out Taco Bell now serves breakfast. Yes, finally something for those of us who want to get diarrhea earlier in the day. When I die, I want to be cremated, and I'm trying to talk my kids into putting me in a jar that says, "He earned it." You may have seen this shirt out at my merch table, but, oh, and by the way, I've mentioned my merch table a couple times. I don't want you to feel like you need to support my 3 children. WWJD, but, no, I got this shirt idea because I was helping my youngest son with his homework, and he needed a definition of a mixed blessing, and the only thing I could think of was getting a kidney transplant from a bedwetter. Speaking of school, my middle son's teacher will not email me back because "I love math" is one autocorrect away from "I love meth." If I owned a dermatology building, the game I'd have in the lobby would be Whack-A-Mole. My favorite holiday is Columbus Day. To celebrate, I cross the street and I take away my neighbor's land. My least favorite holiday is No Shave November, because man, my legs get itchy. This summer, my kids and I learned the hard way that you cannot take a fishing pole into SeaWorld. I'll just do it. If you put a squirrel's head in the toilet and flushed it, would that be a squirrely swirly? My favorite part of my job is when I think of the perfect analogy. It's kind of like whenever you I think if a horse gets diarrhea, it should be called the gallops. I wonder if Miss Piggy gets a lot of spam mail. I don't get hip-hop lyrics at all. I put out a ton of milkshakes and nobody came to my yard. I'll close with 2 more and they're both true. When I was little, I always thought I was my dad's favorite because he would let me lick the cake beaters when he was done. Then I got to college and realized you can turn them off first. And finally, for my last one, and I apologize because you kids aren't going to like me after this, but I think it's hilarious that my 18-year-old son doesn't know I still have a baby monitor hidden in his room. That's a tweet song. So I want to close up, and then I'm going to invite Kurt to come up here. And but man, we want you guys to know that God has given us everything that we need to be able to thrive and to be, who He's created. He's given us all individual talents. In fact, I wasn't going to tell them. One of the first times I realized God could use me, I was a little kid, and I was sitting next to this lady, and I didn't know her. I didn't know what was going on. She was crying. And back then, I had 2 things that would always make people smile. One, I used to have really bad monobrow, and so I used to be able to mash my eyebrows together and then make the letter M. Yeah, that clock says Bob. It does. It says Bob. Okay. Anyway, I used to be able to do that. I'm thinking about growing it back out because I'd love to have a sponsorship from McDonald's. And then the other thing I could do was I could play Amazing Grace with my armpit. And hey, I'm Church of Christ. That's non-instrumental. So I know this is silly testimony, and I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I want you to realize that, man, God's given all of us talents to use, and they're They're used to glorify him, and they're used to draw other people closer to him. And if you're not using those talents for that, you're just wasting them. And anyway, the lady was crying, and I was like, hey, lady, I know you're upset, but I just wanted you to know that today my eyebrows will be brought to you by the letter M. And I did it. It was awesome, guys. She was like, oh my goodness, God used me. Laughter filled the room. Joy filled her soul. I thought it was awesome. The rest of the people at the funeral did not appreciate what God was doing, but I didn't care because I realized I kind of found my purpose is to bring joy to people. And plus, I loved it because everybody was staring at me and I wasn't even nervous. I knew what to do. It was a funeral, I played Amazing Grace. So God has set us up to win. He wants us. He has plans to prosper us. And the enemy is going to try to take you down. Well, here's the best news. You're not alone. He's going to give you community. He's going to give you people to love on you. He's going to come tomorrow. I'm going to talk a lot about love and all the gifts that he's given us and how he showers blessings on us all the time. But I'm going to close with this last story because I think it sums up what I really want to get across tonight. And this happened many, many years ago. I don't know how to set this up. When you're hugely famous like me, I am famous, and the worst part is I'm always having to tell everyone. Even my kids act like I'm not famous. I was actually noticed by 8 different people in one day. And I was like, huh? And my son was like, yeah, we're at a family reunion. So, but anyway, when you're famous, you get to join all these clubs, like exclusive clubs. And so I belong to the YMCA. And the first time I went, something happened that really inspired me. At first, I didn't know what to do because I wasn't into working out and stuff. And so I'd heard swimming was good. So I showed up. I started swimming out front. I was getting a lot of laps in, and I was finding a lot of coins. And I didn't know. I found out quickly, though. I don't know what your YMCAs are like, but in Texas, they have all these, like, psycho trainers. You know what I'm talking about? The bulging bicep and the veins in there. Ugh. Her name was Julie, and she came and yelled at me. She was like, get out of our fountain. And so I had to put the coins back. She took me inside, and inside they had an Olympic-sized pool. And so I got in the outside lane, and in the lane next to me was the oldest guy I'd ever seen in my entire life. Like, seriously, he was like in his late hundreds. He was 1 week away from being a greeter at Walmart. And yeah, and I love elderly people. I think elderly people are the coolest people in the world. They have the best stories. We have so much to learn from them. I'm always telling kids, hang out with your grandparents. And it bothers me. Some kids are like, I don't want to talk to my grandparents. Their mind is going. They say weird stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's the best time to talk to them, right? It's like channel surfing. You never know what's on. So if you'll come tomorrow, I'll talk about my grandmother because she did a lot of amazing things in my life. But anyway, I love elderly people, so I had to talk to this guy. He just looked super cool. And so I was like, good morning. And I guess he couldn't see very well because he was like, good morning, ma'am. And it's my cross to bear. But anyway, I talked to him for a little bit. He was funny. He was really cool. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go. I'm going to swim. And he goes, hey, before you go, can I ask you a question? And I was like, yeah, what? And he goes, do you think I'm old? Yeah. And at first, I didn't even know if I heard him right because I was kind of preoccupied because my body was starting to tingle from all the Bengay in the pool. And so I was like, what? And he goes, I didn't know, do you think I'm old? And I was like, well, that or you've been in the water way too long. He goes, I'm 96 years old and I bet I can outswim you. Well, part of being a good Christian is knowing when to pull yourself out of a tempting situation. And I am very competitive. So I knew I could beat this guy, but I didn't want to. But I was also worried that I'd get to. But I also didn't want to explain all that to him. I just, I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But he was like, I'm 96 years old. I bet I can outswim you. And I was like, nah, I've been getting cramps in my legs. I'm just going to swim. And he goes, okay. But I'm going to ask you one more question. And don't lie to me because you're not going to hurt my feelings. And I was like, oh. Because in the back of my mind, I knew what he was going to ask me. I was like, oh. I was like, all right. And he goes, is the reason why you won't swim against me because you're a little sissy chicken? And I was like, what? Yeah, this guy was on some Geritol buzz. And so I was like, oh, it's on now, Grandpa. And So now I'm over there, I'm stretching, I'm warming up. He's getting ready too. He's like slamming cans of Ensure. And we get up against the wall. I'm like, name your terms. He goes down and back. So now I'm like, well, now I'm definitely going to beat him because he's going to get down there and forget he's racing. So we take off. And I normally don't tell this part of the story, but you guys are a smart crowd. I thought this was pretty funny. We had talked about how old he was, so I was like, all right, what do you want to count? And so he goes, I'll count to 3. And he did count, but he counted like a really old person counts. He counted in Roman numerals. I'd never heard it out loud before. He was like, I. I was like, is that 3? Are you part dolphin? What is I? We take off swimming. I am not proud of this, guys, okay? I write for Focus on the Family. I write these comedy/devotional books that I have out at the table, and a lot of it is talking about how to pull yourself out of tempting situations and guard yourself. And so, like, I'm an advocate, but I am not proud of this. I swam not only to beat this guy, but to humiliate him because he called me a name. And I was sitting there, I was swimming. I was like, I'm going to beat this guy. I'm going to beat this elderly guy. And when I said that, I was like, what am I doing? I travel all over the country trying to make people laugh so I could tell them about Jesus, and here I'm trying to embarrass this guy. And then I thought to myself, WWJD, what would Jesus do? And I knew the answer, that Jesus, would still beat him, but just not by very much. No, Christ was using me to teach him how to be humble. It's not like I'm in charge. So I did my turnaround. He did his turnaround. He was about 5 yards back. I'm like, that's enough that it won't embarrass him, but I'm still going to win. And then I look back, and all of a sudden, Old Man River decides to kick it up a notch. So now I'm swimming faster, and he's moving up, and now I'm trying to distract him. I'm like, hey, I think Matlock is on. Nothing. He gets even with me and just goes, Father Time shoots past me like a bullet. So then my pride really kicks in. So I'm like, I'm a sissy. I literally didn't even finish. I did get a cramp in my leg, thanks for the irony. And so I pulled up on the side. I didn't even finish the race. I pulled up on the side. I was out of breath. I looked over at him. He was at the finish line, just treading water, just grinning. And I had to give him props. I was like, dude, you're an awesome swimmer. And he goes, I swim every day. I'm like, I don't care if you swim every day, dude. You're 96 years old, and you tore me up in that race. You got to take credit. And I'm going to close with this because it changed my life. He goes, well, I appreciate that, and I'll take some of the credit. But I honestly think that most of the credit has got to go to these. And he reached under the water and took off swimming flippers off his feet. Little white flippers. I was like, you are my hero. And then he said one of the funniest things. He goes, well, I got to go. I'm late for work. And I'm like, hold on, you're 96 years old and you still work? What do you do? And he goes, I'm a youth leader for an old folks home. Here's why I wanted to close with that story. Because God's given us the power that we need to be succeeding in life and to do things in life. And it's a race. It's a race. And when you walk outside this church, the outside world is going to do exactly what I did when I walked into that pool that day. I looked at this guy, and all I saw was the surface level of him. I had no idea what kind of power this guy had underneath. He had the power to win the race, and when Christ came back 3 days later, proving not even death could hold him down, we won the race, guys. We are victorious. But he also, that should fire us up. But he also had the power to do whatever he wanted to in the race. I agree. And I love when Ritalin kicks in. Okay. No, here's what I want to close with. If you want to go ahead and come up here, here's what I want to close with. When you go outside of this world, it's up to you to show people that power that you have underneath. And that power is the love of Jesus Christ. That power allows us to go out and do things, to win the race and to do great things in this race. But it has to start with that relationship. And so I'm going to just turn it over to you.
Yeah, yes. So just like Bob said, we do all this, and it's fun, and I love entertainment and so on. But the God that he's talking about, the God of the Bible, that we were talking about this earlier in the other room, and You know, I think one of God's favorite things to do is to enter into our brokenness. Because when we get to heaven, there's no brokenness, right? And on this side of heaven, there's a lot of brokenness, isn't there? You know, oftentimes in our life, we just try to run from brokenness, right? We try to protect ourselves from brokenness, and we should. But one of God's favorite things is to enter into our brokenness. And so I don't know where you're at in life, but we want to encourage you. If you've never met Jesus, if you've never said, you know what, I want to have a relationship with this God you're talking about that can walk me through whatever it is that I'm going through and guide me. Let me ask you this question. Who is your best friend? Somebody who's got all the answers? Somebody who's just squeaky clean, never has any problems? Or is your best friend somebody who will sit down with you and cry with you and help nurture you back to health? That's what Jesus is. And the beautiful thing, he's also God. So he can make a way where there is no way. He can give wisdom to situations that seem hopeless and helpless. He can give life, not just eternally, but in this moment and in this life that we live. So what we want to do is we want to, if you're like, okay, you know what, I want to, tonight, 2018, Bob Smiley comedy event, I want to drive the stake in the ground in my life. I want to say today is a game changer for me. I want to take a step and say, you know what, I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to let him, and I'm going to even invite him into everything I go through. Enough of this doing it on my own. Enough of this thinking I've got all the answers. I want to have him alongside me tangibly. What we're going to do is we're going to invite you to come right down front here. And we'll stand with you. And we're going to pray with you and encourage you. So if you're here and you've got that pitter patter of the heart going on, and you're like going, man, you know it. You're like, yeah, enough is enough. I need to get right with Jesus. I need to follow him. I need to be with him. He loves me, right? He proved it. Listen, if you ever question if Jesus loves you, that's a lie from the devil. And you know how I know that? Because you can look at that cross. If there was ever a time that Jesus was going to bail on us, it would have been then. But he didn't. He went the full distance to prove his love for you. You never have to question his love. But you know what the beautiful thing is? He also proved his power by raising from the dead, so that you and I don't have to just be glad he loves us, but we can know his power, that we don't have to fear death anymore. And anything we go through in this life, he will be with us. So we want to invite you. Would everybody just stand with me? Make it a little bit easier. We want to invite you. If you want us to pray with you and come, we want to stand down here with you. So if that's you and you know you want somebody to pray with you and we just want to stand with us, we're just going to take a minute, give you a moment. If you want, just come down right here. We're going to come down and stand with you. And if you want to stand with us and say, you know, today is my day, I'm going to drive a stake in the ground and I want to stand with these others. If that's you, just come on down here, stand with us. We'll just give it a minute. If you're like, you know what, I want to, love it, buddy. We'll just give a minute here. This is, you know what, this isn't a show. This isn't an emotional trip. This is just a simple life step to say, you know what, let me ask you something. If you are a follower of Jesus, just raise your hand. Look at the hands. Can we all that have our hands raised say, there's nothing better to know that I have a relationship with God That's what we want you to know. So if that's you, just if you want to come down here, we'll just give another moment here, and then we're just going to pray together. Let's all just kind of squish you in here. Squish you in here, everybody. Come on over here. Come on, like you don't have to stand single file, just like a big pile here, a big puddle. Come on over, squish, squish, squish. Squish. Would you guys extend your hands? We're just going to say a prayer here. God, we just come to you. And Lord, we acknowledge our weakness, our brokenness, and really our dependence on you, our Creator, our Savior. And so for all of us standing here, Lord, we pray for your provision, your protection, your guidance in the days ahead, that when we walk out of this building, that you will protect again from the evil one and from all the pitfalls of this world, that we will know you are with us and that you will guide us and direct us every day of our life until we finally meet you face to face. So God, we just again are grateful for moments like this, holy moments where you touch hearts and you change destinies. And we love you, and we ask this in the matchless name of Jesus. And everybody said, amen. Let's all go right out this door right over here. And I think we're going to sing a song, and then Reggie's going to hop up. Let's give these guys a round of applause here.
Awesome. Can we give Bob one more round of applause as well? That's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Well, before you take a seat, we're going to ask you just to stand, because we're going to sing one more song but to close out. But as Pastor Kurt said, if you're in this place and you do not have a church home, that means you haven't been going anywhere, you've been looking for a place to come check out, we have 3 awesome services we want to invite you to here at 9 a.m., 10:30, and noon. And there's awesome churches around our city, as Bismarck Baptist is here, and I'm sure there's different pastors who are around too. If you're a pastor in this place and you're in this place and you're like, I need to go to church somewhere, I'm looking for a place to go, please, we want to encourage you, get to church tomorrow. It's going to be an awesome Sunday. And so we want to encourage you to do that. We love you guys. We thank you so much for coming to Comedy Fire and getting the chance to laugh and have some fun and enjoy it. Directly after our service is complete, after we sing this last song, Bob will be in the gathering place where he'll have his merch table where we encourage you to buy some things. But he'll also be there to take pictures, shake hands with people. He'll love to say hi to you. So directly after this, after we sing this last song, he'll be there waiting for you. So let's pray, and then we'll sing this song. So Jesus, we thank you for today. Thank you for all the wonderful things that you did in this place. God, we love you. We praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Come on, let's sing this out together.
Staring into your eyes makes my heart come alive. Suddenly brought to life when I met you. This is real love. This is real love. This is real love. You're pulling me closer and closer, holding my heart to the very end. Jesus, I'm found in your freedom. 'Cause this is real love. This is real love. And this is real love.
Amen. What a great night. Thank you so much for coming. Take a moment, say hello to Bob out there. Have a great night.
I'm hanging on by a thread, and all I'm clinging to is prayers. And every breath is like a battle. I feel like I ain't come prepared. And death's knocking on the front door. Pain's creeping through the back. Fears crawling through the windows, waiting for him to attack.